If you want the magic, you have to make it. I say that all the time. But if you're not happy with the life and where you are at and not doing anything about it, you're going to be the artist in the art of settling. Welcome to Without a Doubt, the podcast, where we explore the transformative journey of breaking cycles and embracing our truest self. I'm Mad, a cycle breaker, a creative, and a sprinkle of reality. If they ever told you to be quiet, sit down, blend in, but you couldn't, this podcast is for you. I'm so happy you're here. This past weekend, I was watching the documentary on Netflix about Martha Stewart. And she mentioned she struggled with male partners and long-term relationships because she doesn't really talk about emotion. She's more focused on what to do, where to do, how to do, and the ideas of doing. And I couldn't have resonated more. I am an emotional, empathetic person. However, I find myself focused so often on the act of doing. What is next? So often I question why so many people aren't. And then it led me to this question on the act of settling. Have you ever settled for comfort over growth? For example, maybe you chose to stay in a job, a relationship, or a place that just feels safe. It feels comfortable, even if you know it's not actually allowing you to grow or reach your full potential. My brain immediately moves into when I think of like a secretary or a receptionist who has been working that job for 50 years or 20 years, whatever the amount, and they are miserable. They don't actually have plans to change jobs, and they're just going on with their basic ass day. It is possible it can stem from a reluctance to change, to try something new, even if it could lead to personal growth, but that's due to a number of things. But this is just kind of where my brain went. When I see those miserable people working these basic ass jobs and they're finding zero joy in those jobs and they have truly perfected the art of settling, I don't think I can wrap this idea around my brain or my brain around this idea. I just really wanted to bring this episode to light because in the grand scheme of life, we have so many roads that are paved for us, but there's so many of these offbeat and dirt roads that we can take and we can navigate and change our own views into something more divine or worthy. The idea that going to bed makes you excited because you can't wait for the next day, I feel that way so often. I like to go to bed early because I want to wake up early. I want purpose for my next day. The idea that I can do something different, that I could be like Martha Stewart when she is so focused on the art of doing and the act of doing. The latter is the act of settling and the art of settling. For the mundane, mediocre, and musty life you get to churn up. If you want the magic, you have to make it. I say that all the time. But if you're not happy with the life and where you are at and not doing anything about it, you're going to be the artist in the art of settling. What about your health? I talked last episode about how you got to get off your ass to make your ass better. How about when we started settling for the bare minimum for movement and nutrition and medicine? We will drive through and we will sleep in as the true act of settling because it's easier to sleep in and it's easier to drive through. And in order to do better for ourselves, we can't settle for less than what we actually deserve. Example. Someone might settle for a job they don't love because they truly believe that's the best that they can do because they fear they probably won't find anything better. Or they might settle in a relationship because they feel it's the best that they can ever get. They've never had anything like that. Even if they're not truly or fully satisfied. Even if you're not happy, even if you're experiencing toxic behavior in your relationships, people still settle. They still stay. They stick because they fear the change. And we do settle in these situations. It's the self-talk, it's the self-worth, it's the lack of confidence. But why are we settling for the lowest self-confidence and not feeling worthy? Because once again, you get to fill up all of those cups. You get to switch to flip and find the energy and the love and everything you do deserve. Just because you've been told you don't deserve it doesn't mean that's actually true. That's a false story that you're telling yourself, leading you into the act of settling for less when you actually deserve so much more. The reason why so many people think I do so much is because most people aren't actually doing enough. Boom, mic drops. Probably that's true because most people are just attempting to live. We are struggling, so many of us, just to live. We're not even the attempting to live, we're just settling to live. The idea to push and propel forward is always going to be harder. But when you hit the next level, you'll be looking back wondering why it took you so long to make the move. I don't have tangible things for you to take from this episode. I really don't. But I will leave you with this pondering thought or question. If you actually have settled for something lately, was it something you shouldn't have even settled for? I know straight up I have been settling for a lot of the mediocre in my own life. My idea was just keep trudging on and it will go. But that is not true. I have been doing that this time, and I've been digging my heels in, and I've been working harder to level up in advance, which means clearing out and picking out the weeds in my garden. The reality is nothing changes if nothing changes. Nothing can grow when you're not laying down the seeds. Nothing will bloom unless you are watering your garden. Nothing will actually flourish unless you keep tending to those plants. If you want more fruit, you've got to tend to your trees. You've got to water them, and you need a system that works. It can't just be out there you watering whenever the fuck you think about it. The fruit that you want that is juicy and sweet and delicious, those are the fruit that people are working on. Those are the trees that they are laboring. Those flowers that you want colorful and attract all the insects, it won't happen unless you're out there fertilizing them. If you're doing the bare minimum and you're barely going out there with the lack of consistency, you're settling for that bare minimum garden. Stop settling and start turning it up. You have the power to create more, but you also have the power to live in your settle. You choose the latter. See you next Wednesday, another week of reminders, sprinkles of realities, and a final reminder that you are without a doubt a badass. Stop settling for less. You deserve more. See you next week, and ciao, ciao. Hey, and by the way, if you love this podcast, let me remind you that you sharing this is one of the greatest ways to help my podcast just grow. If you don't already follow this, hit the follow button. Give it a rating. Do something with this that can help this go from where I am now to somewhere greater. You have the ability to help me be a bigger podcaster. I love you for being here, and you can always find me on YouTube, Instagram, or anywhere you listen to your podcasts. See you around and catch you next time. Bye.